News is that when you get it mixed, concentrate's one thing. It's the lowest toxicity level the USDA allows on this. When it's mixed, when it's in your spray tank, in your hand pump sprayer, in your watering can if you're going to go out and hand water your roses, whatever it is, it's at such a level, you don't drink it. You don't slop it around. You put it to use it's intended. But at that level, you could wash your hands in it. Would you? No. If some gets on your hand, gets on your foot if you're out in flip-flops. Anybody do that down here in the summer? Okay, your flip-flop. In any case, is it going to burn your toe off? Is it going to go in through your big toe and suddenly your foot's going gangrene? No. But again, simple techniques that are sensible. It's a low toxic when mixed. But I always throw that caution out. Like people walk up to my greenhouses, and there's our signs, no entry. Well, some of that stuff you don't want to be entering in. Is it advisable to wear a mask when you're out in a spray boom? I think you all know that it is. It is just for common safety. But this is a very, very low. Notice, we keep it in plastic. We keep it in plastic. It's not in some can. It's not triple, quadruple buffered. I mean, it's in here. Okay? We, by the way, can deliver this in what I'll call a 4-ounce container, which is kind of a home use, kind of almost a trial size. As you get going, you'll want to have you homeowners, this is the only way I deal with it. Because you just get so much more out of it. By the way, you don't want this to freeze. What does freezing do to electron activity? Oh, yeah. When an ice cube freezes, what happens to it? It goes from being liquid to being solid. Electron activity slows. The bear goes into hibernation for the winter. What happens? He engorges himself in the fall, and he's ravenous in the spring. But he's essentially in suspended animation, isn't he, for the winter in hibernation? Kind of. You don't want this to freeze. Put it in your basement. Put it in a warm shed. Put it in your maintenance shed, whatever. We can also deliver it in 20-gallon containers. We can deliver it ultimately in 55-gallon drums. So as each step goes up, the economics start to kick in. And that's a very important part. So let's talk a little bit about application rates. I know that some of you are very excited about this because you know what? In farming and agriculture, it's all about rates. It's all about economics. I call your attention kind of page 3 of your little handout, at least for our purposes today. I've put a conversion chart on there. That conversion chart has some of the simple conversions from metric to the English system, from grams to ounces, from meters and decars to square feet. Now, I'm not going to apologize for this because Americans are going to wake up eventually. The rest of the world is in the metric system. One of the things the English gave us was the foot, the ounce, the rule, all those. Well, guess what? We're finally realizing it, that more and more of what the USDA requires, the Environmental Protection Agency, all the registrations are coming more in metric. So we're going to have to get used to metrics. I see you shaking your head, sir. We're going to have to live with that, and I can't change that. But the good news is I put some easy conversions in here. As we talk about application rates, you'll start to see what it really means. Let's skip down for a second to go over some of the specifics in the general application rates that we have there for the young plants. Young plants, remember, these are like seedlings that you're putting in or plugs that you might be applying. If you're, nobody down here, does anybody down here grow tobacco? Gee, my family farm, we had tobacco. Big old luscious cigar type. I see people that smoke. Any case, bottom line, tobacco is a big crop up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. There are other parts. Well, any case, tobacco you put in a plug. When you plant tomatoes or broccoli, you plant plugs, seedlings, small starts. You put them in. If you were treating those young plants, you would use that at 500 grams per decar as a watering at the base. Now let's jump up a second so we understand the chart, because I start with this one because it's an easy one. Y'all don't know this, but this is 1,000 grams. How much does a decar say up there? 1 decar equals 1,000 square meters equals 10,763.9 square feet. Now, hang on a minute. If we were talking about spraying this on a lawn, and you have a 10,000 square foot lawn, by the way, most of your commercial lawn fertilizers come packed as 5,000 square feet, 10,000, 15, 25,000 square feet. So what we've tried to do here is equate this. We've picked one in the middle. Now, a 10,000 square foot lawn, pretty good sized piece of grass. You either have hired somebody to mow it or you're out there with a tractor because you'll be walking a lot with a 24-inch wide mower. But nonetheless, if you're going to go ahead and feed that, you're going to buy a commercial product, you're going to buy this, This is going to do it twice if you had that. Now we'll break into lawns in a second, but I want you to understand half of this is 500 grams. So for young plants on a 10,000 square foot area, you would be putting half of this bottle on. Incidentally, this costs you folks 80 bucks. 80 bucks. So to fertilize 10,000 square feet, a little over that actually, 10,000 square feet at the base, and I might suggest that you might use that as a transplant solution. When you're putting it in, most of the transplanters put a little water in with fertilizer right at the time it's planted. You're going to do that for 40 bucks. 10,000 square feet. Now let's analyze the economics. You're planting plants that might be 8, 12, 15, depending, inches between plants. You might have 10, 12, 14, 16 inches between rows, depending what it is. What does that figure out an amount of dollars per plant? Wow, pennies. Now remember, we're going to get increased yields and all that stuff, but remember, it's environmentally friendly. Okay, you're doing that. Mature plants, if you're watering at the base, you're using one of these for that same decar. And we'll get into specific recommendations about specific crops in about 2 minutes. But the idea being is, notice on those charts, spray leaves at, for young plants, 25 to 30 grams per decar. 25 to 30 grams as a foliar feed. How many 25s in 100? This is 1,000. How many in 100? 4. How many in 1,000? Yeah, 40. Hello. So you've got 40 decars worth of fertilizers of foliar feed in here. Now I didn't do the math. I could probably come up with it. But if you're talking about 40,000 square feet from one of these, you're just under an acre, aren't you? 43,000 plus in an acre? No, that's acre is square feet. I'm talking about square feet. So you're talking about an acre coming on one of these. Sure. As a foliar feed. And we're going to talk in a minute about how many times do we do that. Well, you'll be happy to know, and if you flip the page, you will start to see some of the recommendations. Tomatoes, cucumbers, 50 to 60. Does anybody grow tomatoes? Okay. Lettuce, peppers, squash, eggplants, that kind of a program. 50 to 60 grams per decar of a leaf spray, 3 to 4 times during the seedling stage. We're hitting it early, doing maximum growth. Then we're talking about once, as in a 700 to 1,000 decar water at the base, once. Subsequent. What we're talking about, if we consider that, well, it's easy math. 50 goes into 1,000 20 times. Right, here people, yeah, good work. 20 times. That means you've got 20 treatments or 20 decars for this. 80 bucks. 80 bucks. That's all. And you're going to put that on 3 or 4 times, okay, and you're going to use a feed in the bottom. But if you think about that from an economic standpoint, what are you doing for that kind of volume, for that kind of numbers? That means per spray for a 10,000 square foot area, and I realize that's not necessarily a crop production term, we think about acreage. But if you think about that from a perspective, you're talking about having it on there for $80 divided by 40 is $2. Right? Wow. It's incredible. Where are we with cost now? Pennies. Pennies. Critical. Obviously, we get down to lettuce and we see again we're at that 60 grams. If we're flipping the page, and I want to talk more specifically about 2 particular products as we get going down here, but as we move through this, I want to start and stop a minute on citrus trees. And I want to take the time, since that's a big crop in this area, as it is all over the world, in the temperate climates anyway. I want to talk about exactly and read into the record so everybody understands it, what we're talking about. Again, 1,000 grams in this bottle. Remember, 20 gallons, 55 gallons available. Don't think you're going to deal with all these little ones if you don't want to. And we'll talk about that. But citrus, fruits, olives, 300 to 500 grams decar leaf spray. Let's talk about that a second. Why, Randall, is there such a range, 300 to 500? Well, you know your soil fertility. You know whether the ground's depleted. You know whether there's any nutrients, whether there's biomicrobes working there. You know if things are going down here. You know the structure of your trees. You also know that different times, we're going to talk about that in a second, call for different relationships. More is not necessarily better, folks. In fact, what we found in some of the human energy supplements that I drink, that we all drink, some of us drink regularly, is that less of the formula and more of the spring water increases the hyperactivity in our system, increases the energy there. So I suggest, oh, Randall, if 300 is going to work, let me hit it with 1,000. That's going to make a difference. Wrong. Doesn't work that way. Okay? Remember, in the Garbage of Eden, we saw one application of perfect science formula brought about the growth. All we did was go out and spray water on it. Spray water on it. Happened to be a very dry season that year, so I don't know if we would have had to do as much watering as we did. But again, trying to do some normal, productive type scenario. Rains come, rains go. But the idea is you need to have some water in there. Hypotentiation. So that's an important thing. Fruit trees. Well, citrus and olives apply before blossom. Fruit trees apply after plant bears fruit. Now that doesn't mean when it bears the full apple or the full grapefruit. It means that you apply it once the fruit starts to go. General use. Apply once before flowering, 2 to 3 times after fruits form, with intervals of 15 to 20 days. Most of you are spraying oftener than that, Captan or Benlade or whatever it might be, right? Yeah, okay. So you're out in those fields anyway. You're out in those orchards. Okay. 2 kilos of liquid fertilizer to put into a tank, which is the capacity of 1,000 liters. We're in metric. Look at your conversion charts. Which is sprayed on the leaves in a 4-dekar area of land. We've tried to give you an example. It's metric, I understand that. We've tried to give you an example to say, well, Randall, about how much of this am I going to spray on my orchard if I have this big of a plot? Well, here's the answer, right there. Okay? 2 kilos of liquid fertilizer to put into a tank which has the capacity of 1,000 liters, which is sprayed on the leaves in a 4-dekar area of land. If somebody works the simple math on that, again, you're going to find that it's pennies compared to where you are now in dollars. And you're going to do it environmentally friendly. And remember, what's the final thing we're looking for? Better quality, more of it. Fruit. Better quality fruit, more of it. So that's the yield. I'm going to take you down through one more because I think this is important. By the way, if we do some simple conversion on the mathematics of what we talked about on that dekar of leaf spray, you're talking about, you might want to write this down if you're into it, 1.35 quarts of spray per acre for citrus trees. 1.35 quarts per acre. I absolutely guarantee you, nobody's doing it now. You're way up in numbers on that. Remember, mixability. Mixability. Into that tank goes the other things you think you may want from a management standpoint to put on it. You're going to need a little less of it. You'll find that out over time. And we'll get into that finding out over time in short times. Let's talk a minute about, as we come down the list there, watermelons. I mentioned, I saw some hands go up earlier. I talked about and heard some laughter about that great big watermelon. What you find in watermelon, 40 to 50 grams per dekar of a leaf spray, 2 to 3 applications with intervals of 10 to 15 days after planting is 20 to 25 days old. Now, if you want to treat your seeds with this, you can do it on a 1 to 500 basis. If you're planting watermelon seeds, treat them. Pre-treat. Start them to break, start that shell to break open, start that water absorption to get so that it germinates. Get that started, 1 to 500 dilution for seeds. Treat it, put them in, plant them. But after it goes and it's in the ground, let's read again what it says. 40 to 50 dekars of leaf spray. Remember, at 50, that's 20 treatments in here. 20 times 10,000 square feet, half an acre, round numbers, half an acre. 2 to 3 applications with intervals of 10 to 15 days after the plant is 20 to 25 days old. Why aren't we hitting it earlier? Well, if you treat the seed, it's got it. It's gone. If you plant a plant and you put some of this in your planting, where's that young water plants at the base thing we talked? You've put it in there with water if you planted plants. In many cases, in watermelons, you haven't. If you squeeze that a little too hard in the planter, you don't have a plant anymore. In any case, the bottom line is 2 to 3 applications, 10 to 15. Why are we pumping up in those time frames? Well, we want to get vine growth. We also know too that in our fields, how do you get through a watermelon field after the watermelon vines start to go out? You can't. What happens if you crush the vines with a tractor or step on them if you're using a hand sprayer? Everything from that crushage out, see, you're gone. Well, the last thing we want you to do is be out there crushing them. So you get a few great big watermelons. We want lots of great big watermelons. More tonnage. We want those kind of things. By the way, we also want them sweeter. A healthier plant,